Hey crew, I've got the key to this 25 Ram 1500 RHO. We are going to take it for a drive both on-road and here off-road in the Johnson Valley. But first, let's check out how it looks on the inside and outside. The RHO is the current replacement for the outgoing TRX, though with a big change to the powertrain. Stylistically, this new Ram 1500 doesn't look a whole lot different. We do have some redesigned bumpers, which are steel on the RHO. There are updates to the projector LED headlights and DRLs and turn signals. We still have some functional ventilation on the side of those. The truck is still 88 inches wide. It is a behemoth. It has a functional air inlet with this matte black accenting. We've got functional heat extractors, and it says Hurricane now for the Hurricane Twin Turbo Inline 6. The red lettering of high output contrasts this hyper blue paint job very nicely. And at the side is a standard set of 35-inch Goodyear Wrangler Territory all-terrain tires wrapping over 18-inch wheels. These are the upgraded bead lock capable wheels. There is some functional ventilation behind the flared wheel arches. As standard, this truck gets wider aluminum side steps, but this one has the upgraded rock sliders for protection, and they still have these very thin side steps to help you get up and in. Looking at the profile, the RHO only comes in one configuration, the crew cab with the full rear doors and a 5-foot 7-inch bed. There is also that two-tone paint job here of the black for the lower cladding. RHO is a sticker on the bed. And around back, there are updated LED taillights and turn signals. Down low, just like the front, you get steel bumpers. There is an integrated bed step, which you need to access this very tall truck. It's 2 inches taller, including the all-terrain tires, than the standard Ram 1500. So when you step up, you can get access to the spring and bed-lined 5-foot 7-inch bed. And getting this back does require a little effort. Ram is spelled out along the tailgate, along with RHO and 4x4 badging. Down low, we have these large outlet exhausts, 2 of them painted in black. There are black recovery hooks. Underneath the truck is a full-size spare tire. And now, for $25, this truck actually tows more despite having fewer cylinders. Overall, this new RHO, still very much like the TRX, looks like it means business, both on and here off-road. My question for you is whether you think it should have been a little more differentiated stylistically than the now extinct TRX. Let me know in the comments, and let's check out the interior. Opening up and looking inside at this black interior, which is the only color option for the RHO. The seats are in leather with perforations. You get some suede bolstering support here, gray contrast stitching. The rear seats are heated and ventilated, and I believe that is part of the level 1 full RHO equipment group. It's like a $10,000 option. Comes with a whole bevy of other luxury details. The headrests, for visibility's sake, do fold down. The seat bottoms, of course, it's a truck. They lift up, and you can also expand this out for under-seat storage. These are some all-weather floor mats you can remove and easily clean. Got some MOLLE straps here on the back of the seat. On the doors, there's leather up top with more of that contrast stitching. Carbon fiber trim here. Suede for perforated insert there. Nice padding for your arm. 1 touch up-down windows. And with that one equipment group, you get an upgraded 19-speaker Harman Kardon sound system. The other parts of the door, much cheaper though. There is a nice grab handle to get up, and with that skinny side step, I can easily make my way in. Hello, cabin crew. And closing up that door, I've got plenty of headroom above and so much legroom behind my own seat position at 6 feet tall. I mean, look at that. That is just cavernous, this cabin. I can really stretch out. And then in the middle, I've got 4 USB ports, 2A, 2C, and a 400-watt AC outlet. Then if I move in the middle seats, it's kind of the same deal with space. Knee room, headroom. The only difference is that my knees are pitched up a little more at an angle here, so I don't have the same thigh support as the side passengers. But still, you could get 3 full-size adults back here without issue. And if you've got your dog with you, maybe you need some air in the back, or you're bringing 2x4s into the cabin, then this back glass does power slide with that control right there. If there isn't a middle passenger, the armrest does come down with 2 cup holders, padding for your arm, and a little bit of storage underneath. The back seats, comfort, space, luxury. Let's check out the front next. Listening to the door close noise, that's a mostly good thud, but then there's a weird squeak sound there at the very end, peculiar. Smart keyless entry is for the front 2 doors. Looking at these front chairs, they add RHO stitching to the seat back. They also add massage in addition to heating and ventilation. with that level 1 equipment group, power controls on the side, aluminum tread plates, aluminum accented foot pedals, and with that level 1 equipment group, you can adjust the position of those pedals. So if you're like me, where you've got a longer torso and not as long of legs, that feature is very handy. Also, I misspoke saying the rear windows were one touch up down. They're power operated, but only the front windows are one touch up down. 2 positions of memory for the front seats, additional storage here, including rubberized cup holder inserts, and a grab handle to get up and in. I'm going to put the truck in accessory mode to turn on both the 14.5-inch touchscreen in the center. That's an upgrade over the standard 12-inch screen, and the fully digital gauge cluster. Got some company joining me here on the hill now. Back to the gauge cluster. It's high resolution, it's easy to control with the steering wheel buttons. On the right-hand side, that's for your driving assistance features. They changed up the paddle shifters. They're now these aluminum pieces, and they're much larger. Then looking at the infotainment screen, we still have a lot of physical redundancies, which I appreciate. It cuts down on distraction while driving. That's for your climate on the left and right-hand sides. You get a volume knob, you get a tuner, and the operation of the Uconnect screen is pretty darn simple. And it's reasonably quick responding. Sometimes it does have a bit of a glitch, but it's also very customizable. Under the infotainment, we've got a trailer brake controller, backup assist, 4 auxiliary buttons. We've got loads of USB inputs, 3A, 3C, and an HDMI port. Plus, this is now a 2 wireless charging pad holder. Under the carbon fiber, there are 2 cup holders. There's perforated leather for your gear selector. I like that they kept this more traditional mechanical selector. Feels very substantial in the hands. Suede for the topper of the console and an RHO plaque. If I lift that up, then there's storage on the top shelf with a USB-A port, and even more storage on the bottom shelf with a 400-watt AC outlet and coin storage. Not sure who's still using that, but it's here in the Ram. And the sun visors are giant, and they slide. I love that. And the final detail is an optional passenger display, which I can't see as the driver for safety, but they can, and they can access things like media and navigation. Overall, this interior is very luxurious, very spacious, and it's a good place for me to explore the RHO on-road and off. All right, let's fire it up. Huh. That was really modest from the inline 6-cylinder. It's not a supercharged V8 anymore, that's for sure. Hello, cabin crew. Thanks for joining for this first drive in the 25 Ram 1500 RHO. And we are going to roll out as a group here to a base camp for these trucks to do some off-roading here in Joshua Tree, California. So we're going to have some on-road time and then plenty of off-road time. Powertrain in this Ram 1500 RHO. It's the same motor they have in the Ram Tungsten, a 3-liter twin-turbocharged inline 6-cylinder that makes 540 horsepower and 521 pound-feet of torque. That is obviously a far cry from the supercharged V8 that made 702 horsepower in the now dead TRX. But this truck is now lining up more with the standard F-150 Raptor, not the Raptor R. So they're kind of working backwards, whereas Ford built up that Raptor range to then the supercharged V8 Raptor R. We've worked backwards with the Ram lineup. And this Hurricane i6 is also powering some Jeep products, the Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer. And that was the first time I experienced the motor before then in the Ram 1500 Tungsten. In both applications, it blew me away with the torque. So I'm excited to see what it does in this truck. And that motor is connected to an 8-speed automatic gearbox and sends power to all 4 tires via a part-time 4-wheel drive system. Right now we've got it in 4-wheel drive auto, and so right now it's rear-based, but it will apply torque and power to the front tires if it detects loss of traction. I gotta turn down the heated seat that they had going for us this morning when it was chillier, and turning down the heated leather steering wheel. These kind of features, along with the seat ventilation and the leather, just on all sorts of surfaces with this Ram RHO equipment group, does give you this impression of luxury. And that's how Ram has differentiated its trucks from the F-150 and the Silverado, by just giving its owners more of that premium feel. And it's an experience even here in their off-road oriented pickup trucks. The feel of this leather, the seat comfort, I wish the seats would adjust a little more. I feel like I'm sitting up pretty high. I do have plenty of clearance above my head at 6 feet tall, but it would still be nice to be more immersed in the drive. I'm gonna turn my attention now to the ride quality from this coil-sprung truck with an independent front suspension, a solid rear axle, and the Bilstein Hawk E2 remote reservoir adaptive suspension, which in the TRX was still a pretty choppy ride. You felt like you were bounced all over the surface of the road. And I realize this is not the most blemished of road surfaces, but already I feel the lack of front end weight that supercharged V8 gave the TRX. It was like a difference of 150 plus pounds that we don't have with this turbo inline 6-cylinder. And that does lead to better ride compliance, and the truck just feels not only more nimble, but it doesn't ride with such a laden feel over the undulations in the road surface, more so like the Fox suspensioned F-150 Raptor. I don't know if it's still quite as refined of a ride as the F-150, but it's getting much closer. And as for how I'm experiencing this powertrain in the auto drive mode, there is just so much low-end grunt. It moves this 6,000-pound truck with ease, and the 8-speed automatic is indiscernible in the gear changes. They just happen in the background, and that's what you want out of this transmission, especially for just moving around town. I do hear a little bit of the turbo inline 6-cylinder when I really dig my foot into it, but otherwise, you just hear the outside noises. There is a bit of wind noise going on at these speeds, which are approaching highway velocity, and there's a little bit of tire hum from those 35 all-terrains. Nothing terrible, but you just don't get, of course, that V8 grunt. Now let's see what happens if I go into the sport drive mode. If that spices things up a little bit in terms of throttle response. Yep. Volume doesn't really change much, but the perkiness from the Turbo i6 is much more noticeable. I'm gonna try out manual mode now as well. Click down those gears. Ooh, quick response. Up and down shifts are prompt. There was a little bit of hesitation from the turbo motor when I started to pour onto the power. Let's do that again from 3,000 RPM. Little builds up, and now we're surging at about 3,500 RPM. And ripping forward, full thrust now. Shift light indicators on the digital gauge cluster, that's pretty cool. Let me try the acceleration again from a higher part of the rev range to see if it was just a delay in boost building or if it was something else. From 4,000, that time it felt more not a delay of boost build, but rather of just throttle response. I went full throttle and it just waited a second before it wanted to pour on the power. Let me try that again from 4,500 RPM. Yeah, same kind of deal. When the engine got the message from the ECU, it was raring to go, but it just seemed like there was a delay from foot to floor to communicate to that powertrain. Back in auto mode, and I'm ambling at these speeds, paying close attention to how much steering input is required to keep the truck pointed straight, because that does become taxing after a while if you were going to commute in this vehicle or if you just had a longer highway drive. If you're constantly needing to make little inputs so the truck doesn't deviate from the lane markings, it becomes annoying. But I'm not noticing a lot that I do have to do. There's small adjustments here and there because there is some play to the steering. There is also some driving assistance features that we can play with here. Turning those on, setting my distance for following of adaptive cruise control, and even trying out the steering assistance. And this is not a true hands-free driving experience. It does go yellow because it wants my hands back on the wheel. I'm just gonna see if it'll stay in the center of the lane on this curve. And it does so perfectly. All right, I get it. Want my hands back on. But this would really be a big benefit for a long highway drive or for a commute, as I mentioned. Man, I am really torn right now because I feel like this truck has become a lot nicer to live with on the road, but without the roar and the whine of the supercharged V8, it maybe doesn't feel quite as special, quite as monster truck-esque. But we'll find out how true that holds here off the pavement. And as I follow along in this plume of dust where my visibility is obscured, it's probably a good time to mention that I think the visibility out of this truck, when not in this situation, is pretty great. The view out over that domed hood isn't all that obstructed. The nice large windows on the side and the view out the back, which even if I didn't have this digital rear view mirror to see right through, is not bad at all. That's good, even if I had passengers with me. The door mirrors are nice and large to see around the truck, and the wide angle view on the ends is great if you're towing. I have a lot of confidence seeing out of this RHO. And very initial impressions off-road at low speeds over this washboardy surface is that this adaptive damper suspension does a solid job keeping the ride quality intact. I am bopping around with the solid rear axle in the ladder frame construction, but this is more than tolerable for journeys out to your campsite, or in this case, a journey to more technical terrain. Now I really can't see the trucks in front of me because we're on a dry lake bed here in Johnson Valley. And as I have been jostled around more as the ruts have grown, oh cool, a plane just, oh my gosh, how awesome is that? A plane is landing on this dry lake bed. As I was saying, as I'm being jostled around more, I have wished for a little extra bolstering to these chairs. They're great for around town. Another plane. This is so cool. I have wished for a little more bolstering to keep me locked into the seat because I am sloshing all over the place, especially with the side-to-side motions. And we'll see if that becomes more of an issue as the speeds do pick up. And speaking of increasing speed and increasing motions forward and backward, I am very aware of the lack of the extra weight compared to the TRX and its V8 over the nose of this truck, because there's not nearly the violence with which that truck pitched forward and backward. Here, this feels so much more neutral and gives me a whole lot more confidence carrying speed through here without worrying about the catastrophic nosedive and unsettling the rear end. I can just move through and the truck just stays very flat and neutral. You know, with all this off-roading, I did realize I have yet to do a turn signal sound and horn test. So let's do those now, because I'm making a left-hand turn. That's not my favorite turn signal sound. What about the horn test? If you see a bunny crossing the road and you need to scare it? I don't know. Okay. Yeah, you'll definitely scare it. And yourself. Okay, I'm going to change up the drive mode here and go into Baja, because this is the right environment for it. Turns off the traction control system, allows a little more play, and perks up the throttle response. Now we're getting into it, and when I need to use the brakes, it kind of feels like I'm pressing against a foam block. But what I am thankful for is the lack of that nose weight compared to the TRX and its V8, because I'm not nose diving nearly as much. The truck feels much more stable under that hard braking. All right, we've got the tires aired down to around 25 PSI for some high speed running on a dry lake bed. All right, I'm picking up the pace. And enjoying how the truck is just settling down now over these whoops. As I was saying, the ride really does feel very compliant out here. And taking air out of the tires makes, of course, a big difference as it cushions you from the blows here off-road. But that isn't where all the credit goes. The suspension is just taking all the punishment and not transferring much of it at all into the cabin. And I can go through the whoops at these speeds because of the just under 12 inches of ground clearance and all that suspension travel I mentioned. I'm not worried about bottoming out the truck. And I'm gonna sound like a broken record about this one, but the way the weight transfers with the inline 6-cylinder means that I guarantee I'm taking this at a quicker clip than I would confidently in the TRX. It's just so much more controllable. There isn't a terrific amount of feedback, but it's certainly enough to allow me to place the truck. Okay, we made it to the dry lake bed, and here is the opportunity to go very quickly in a safe way with 540 horsepower. Here goes. Man, that inline 6 sounds like a sports car engine, not a monster truck motor. But it is effective. There's 100. And I reached that easily. This is so simple for this truck, but so much fun. And now I'm gonna back it down. Look at this trail of dust. That was so cool. I have to do that again, but this time with launch control and my race box set to record a 0 to 60 run. So after holding my foot on the brake, pin the throttle, it's gonna build up to 4,000, let go of the brake, oh yeah, feel the G-force, and get to 60 in 4.75 seconds on the dirt. And that's not where the fun stops. It just keeps going. Yeehaw! Now we're moving into a gravelly section where I can carry some real speed, feel the back end move around, but the truck remained very planted. Just try not to get caught in the deeper sand and let the suspension sort everything else out. I can just fly through here, using an off-road performance truck as you're supposed to, and letting it excel. Oh, what a machine. Just at home here. And Baja mode is so great because not only does it allow play when the back end gets a little loose, but it also will just hold on to the gear, not upshift on you and cut the enjoyment. Back on the road, I want to sum up my thoughts on this new Ram RHO. Let's go over the fuel economy, because that is important. It is 14 mpg in the city, 16 on the highway, and 15 combined. Now, that doesn't sound amazing, but it is an improvement of 3 mpg over the outgoing TRX. And then let's talk about the price. It starts at just under $72,000. Compare that to the outgoing TRX's $98,000 price point, and this new truck is a much more attainable product. If you do add on the one big equipment group, which I would because it just comes with so much, that brings the price up to just under $82,000, but still, it's quite a bit of savings compared to the TRX, and it's only priced about $1,000 more than the F-150 Raptor before any options are added on. And if you want to keep the Raptor comparison going, which of course many people would consider this truck would, then that truck makes 90 fewer horsepower at 450. The only other truck you might consider in this segment would be the Chevy Silverado ZR2 that's priced $1,000 less than the RHO, but that truck could not do what this one just did off-road. Taken as a whole, this new RHO still looks like the TRX, still looks very macho, but the interior has been improved, and it's more drivable both on and especially off-road without that extra weight hanging over the front end. It's just more maneuverable and inspires more confidence. The one place, and this is a significant point, where the RHO gives something up to the TRX is just the bravado, the gravitas of driving it. It doesn't elicit the same enthusiasm, excitement when you put your foot to the floor. It's not that the engine sounds bad, it actually sounds like an M3, it's just there isn't enough volume, and I don't blame Ram for not piping that into the cabin. I just wish they had a freer flowing exhaust system to really envelop the passengers as they are engaging with the truck. And at the end of the day, it's just not a supercharged V8 monster machine, what the TRX really stood for. It's less vicious, it's less powerful, it's slower, it's friendlier. And that is going to bum some people out. And those people who really want the V8 are going to go buy the F-150 Raptor R. But for everyone who's left over, there's a really strong contest happening now between this RHO and the standard F-150 Raptor. And though I need more time with this truck on the road to really reach a verdict, I want you to let me know in the comments which you would choose, F-150 Raptor or new Ram 1500 RHO. I hope you guys have enjoyed this first drive, and I will see you again next time.